Could Ace Frehley's final goodbye have been more than just a funeral? What secret stayed buried behind closed doors that day? And how much of it remains unverified to this day? When news of Ace Frehley's passing spread through the rock world, disbelief and sorrow mixed with 1,000 questions. Fans wondered immediately, where would his funeral be? Who would attend? Would the service reflect the showmanship he brought to every stage? What surprises might be hidden in the memories, the music, the ritual of farewell? What we do know is that Ace Frehley was laid to rest in a way that felt fitting for a legend, dramatic, emotional, and layered with symbolism. The ceremony took place in New York, the city that shaped his rise, his noise, and his myth. His coffin rested under dim lights. His signature Les Paul guitar was placed beside it. Mourners dressed in black leather and silver accents, faces painted with the Spaceman makeup, stood quietly as a slow instrumental version of Shock Me, played far too softly for a man who once made stages explode. Friends who had not spoken publicly in years appeared in the pews. One could imagine Paul Stanley offering a nod from the front row, his eyes fixed on Ace's image glowing on a large screen above the altar. Gene Simmons may have stood behind him, expression unreadable, holding something in his hand, perhaps a lightning bolt token or a message from a past performance. There was solemnity, yes, but also traces of rock theater spectacle, flickering lights, subtle haze drifting through stained glass windows, and thunderous applause held back until the very end. Midway through the service, Ace's daughter, let's say Monique, walked to the podium. Her voice was soft but unwavering. She held something small and silver, a pendant in the shape of a star. She spoke of her father's belief in living loud, even in silence. She quoted something he once told her, "When I'm gone, just play the song one more time." She asked the crowd not to mourn him with tears, but to celebrate him with volume. The room filled with quiet sobs. Some wiped their eyes. Others let a tear roll as they remembered standing under stadium lights, watching him lift his guitar high above his head. Later, as sunlight filtered through a stained glass window, a giant screen flickered to life with concert footage. Ace on stage, in Spaceman makeup, jumping, performing Rock and Roll All Night for a screaming crowd. His voice echoed over the speakers as archival audio played, a voice recorded years ago saying, "If you hear thunder one night, it's probably just me jamming above." Many in the room gasped. It felt as though Ace himself had scripted that moment. When the final hymn version of Rock and Roll All Night played, the gathered guests quietly stood, some lighting candles, others raising their phone lights like lighters in a stadium show. The casket was carried out to slow, heavy guitar chords rather than an organ. Outside, fans waited, not with signs or shouts, but turning off their car engines, leaning out of windows and clapping in silence as the procession passed. Afterward, the burial took place privately at a quiet cemetery just beyond the city, Sleepy Hollow perhaps, known for peace and mystery. His loved ones gathered in secret as the final goodbye was whispered beneath oak trees and soft ground. A headstone in polished black marble, etched with his famous lightning bolt logo and the words, "Spaceman Forever." And later that night, some fans visiting nearby said they felt a tremor under their feet. Others said they heard distant strums of guitar strings in the wind. A memory? An illusion? Or something more? That said, almost everything about the service remains unconfirmed. There's no public record, no official press release with every detail. Some of the names, the quotes, the speeches, they are part tribute fiction, part what fans hoped happened. There is no verifiable source for many of the emotional moments described. So while the atmosphere of Ace Frehley's final goodbye, the light haze, the heartfelt address by loved ones, the symbolic music choices, feels real, it also lives somewhere between reality and legend. Until an official statement or source emerges, much of how the world imagines that service is speculation. What can be said for sure is that Ace Frehley's legacy was larger than life. Whether the candle flickered in a cathedral or guitar strings echoed at midnight, the way people remember him is shaped by his spectacle, his energy, and his refusal to quiet down. Somewhere between silence and roar, that's where his legend lives on. Because for a rocker like Ace, even the last note played isn't really the end. It's just the beginning of the echo.